Hey everybody, it's John from Play and Trade Guitars here with another edition of On the Bench, where we're going to put a new purchase on the bench and take a look at things from a technical and setup perspective to get it ready to go and get it playing in tip-top shape. If you watched our Craigslist Guitar Haul number 4, you saw we went high-end and we bought in that amazing custom shop Gibson Firebird. And also, not to be overlooked, we bought in a 1996 50th anniversary Strat in candy apple red, which is, I don't think, been played in the 24 years that the previous owner had it. It's absolutely stunning and basically in mint condition. But with a guitar that's been sitting for a while, there's always potential setup issues. So we're going to take a look at the guitar from a setup standpoint. All right, so I'm cutting away from the bench for a second just to show you something. So I'm going to change the view and give you a look at this Strat and show you an issue that's going to need to be addressed in the setup of this guitar. Watch what happens if I try to bend a string. Hear how it actually chokes out? I call that choking out. And what is happening is that the distance between the string and the fretboard is so small that you're hearing the tone jump. And you're hearing a jump like that because it's actually, there's no room for the string and it's contacting a higher fret. That just means that the action is way too low. I believe the strings that are on here are 9 gauge, so when I take this back to the bench, we're gonna try a couple different things with this guitar. The first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and change the strings. My favorite gauge of strings is 10 gauge. I use 10 gauge Diodario XL 110s. That's just a sure, dead giveaway that the action is just way too low. Could be either because it was set up with the action too low, or it could be because the guitar truly looks like it has not been played. I mean, this is a 1996. It's in mint condition because it's just not been played much. So my hunch is it's just been sitting and it's probably going to need a truss rod adjustment. But we're going to see how far we're going to have to go after I swap from what are 9 gauge strings on this guitar currently to 10 gauge strings. That's going to give a little bit of extra tension. I mean, no electronics problem. I'm not even hearing... there's no crackling. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the electronics of this guitar. This on the bench is going to focus strictly on setting up the action of this particular guitar. We'll double check the intonation, but the main thing to get this guitar up and running to be a player is going to be adjusting the action, which is just way too low and leading to what I call choking out. I'm actually working on an Academy video with this guitar, so I've got to get it set up and ready to go. We're actually going to be taking a look at a classic David Gilmour solo from Dark Side of the Moon. But I can't be doing any of that David Gilmour stuff. If this guitar is choking out, it's not going to work. So let's get it on the bench. Sometimes looks can be deceiving. It draws you in, and you got to make sure you address the finer setup details, because after all, we don't want to look at the thing, we want to play it. So Play and Trade Guitar, we want to set up guitars so we can play on them, so we can wail and we can have some fun. I'm not here to just collect them and stare at them. I want to play them. So let's set this up together. Let's get it back on the bench for this edition of On the Bench with this 1996 50th anniversary candy apple red, beautiful, beautiful Fender Stratocaster. Head over to the bench with me and we'll take care of the setup issues. Got a nice Fender hardshell case. And yeah, this was the one, absolute beauty. This is a standard Strat in candy apple red with a rosewood fingerboard. One of my main players is a Telly with a rosewood fingerboard, so I'm a big Fender guy. I love rosewood on a Telly and a Strat. And this one in particular, I'm just such a sucker for. This is a standard Strat 50th anniversary edition in mint condition. This thing is absolutely beautiful. But it's a good guitar for today's edition of On the Bench, because when a guitar sits for a long time, there tends to be some things you want to double check from a setup perspective. A beautiful piece of rosewood. Look at that. Stunningly beautiful. One of the prettier ones I've seen on a Strat, to tell you the truth. Awesome. All right, let's get it restrung. All right, so when you find a guitar that's, you know, in this case 24 years old and hasn't been played, at first your eyes light up because it's beautiful, but you have to remember it's kind of singing you a setup siren song because it's been sitting, which means you're going to need to address setup issues. But that's why we're here, to talk about setup issues on the bench. We're going to get this Strat back to perfect playing order. We had an issue where the action was just simply too low. So I've restrung this guitar with 10 gauge strings. And we're going to see, once it's tuned up, if it's going to need any further adjustments in terms of either a truss rod adjustment or if there's any adjustments that we can make down here at the bridge. I've got the guitar roughly tuned. I haven't broken in the strings or anything. Let me see just where the guitar is sitting in terms of, oh, see, wow. And this, let me tell you something, 9-gauge strings, I know people swear by them, they're too skinny. So if I show you real up close here, there's no room for it to vibrate and do anything except bump into an upper fret because the action is way too low. So we basically have two options, okay? We have two options to adjust this. We can take a little Allen wrench and we can raise the saddles. The saddles look like they're practically touching the bridge, so that could be an issue. We could raise those first. If we can't get enough clearance from that, it's gonna be a truss rod adjustment. Saddles being practically touching the bridge. I mean, there's two things we can do right out of the gate to address this action issue. So let's do that. Let's start with the easiest thing, which is to raise up these saddles a little bit. Little tiny Allen guy. So the game of give and take is to get the action tolerably high, but not so high that we have intonation problems, and not so low that we have choking out and buzzing, right? I mean, that's always the name of the game. All right, so here's a drawback of this multi-tool. It's got the proper size for a Fender, but it's got this big fat body to it, which is gonna wreak havoc and bump in all my guitar parts. So this is too nice of a guitar to be messing around with that. So I actually just found the same size Allen. I'm gonna insert the Allen into the truss rod, and I'm gonna give it about a quarter turn. Or I mean, I guess like almost a quarter turn. Start a quarter turn. Now this is just a wrestling match. I'm gonna bring it back up to tension on the strings and see if the bow is improved. It's kind of a catch-22. I don't know for certain because I have to take the strings off to make the adjustment. Once I make the adjustment, I've got to retune the guitar and see if it's worked. So let's do that. All right, so I made the final adjustment on the truss rod. Just tighten it up a little bit more, and I actually just raised the saddles even more. So let's tune this up and try one more time for tonight, and then leave it overnight to see how it goes tomorrow. This brings us to a point too about intonation and tuning, which is if you don't let your hand breathe with the vibration of the chord and the body of the guitar, and you stiffen up, it's gonna sound out of tune. That sounded pretty good to me. I'm John for Play and Trade Guitars. Thank you for watching this On the Bench edition with this beautiful, beautiful 1996 50th anniversary edition Fender Stratocaster Standard in beautiful candy apple red. We made the adjustments we needed. Okay, so we're gonna be good to go. I'm gonna let these new strings break in overnight and these truss rod adjustments break in overnight, and then tomorrow I'm gonna bust this guitar out and we're gonna be featuring a Play and Trade Academy video on how to learn a guitar solo, and as particular a David Gilmour solo that I've loved since my Wii years, and but I've never learned. I loved listening to it for years. So what I'm going to give you is a clean slate take on how I learn a guitar solo, what process I go to learn a guitar solo. So we'll sit down and dissect tones, the approach to the shape of the solo, how to learn it, and how to learn it by ear. But I'll include notes and instructions and all that. So that's coming soon, so stay tuned. I'm John at Plain Trade Guitars. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on this channel. Remember that the giveaway for the Firebird is still on, and also follow us on Instagram at Plain Trade. That's at Plain Trade on Instagram. So follow us there, hit the like button, hit that subscribe, hit that like hard, and thanks for watching.